Okay. So good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. Happy almost Navaratri. Navaratri begins this week, so heads up for hearing all about that, whether you want to or not. But that's how we roll here, right? But my thought for you today, we just had our 1 year anniversary party yesterday, and it's interesting to reflect, right? We look at time, and we often look at where we think we're trying to go, right, in life. We look at where we are not yet, where we haven't yet arrived, right? We're looking forward to this is where I'm trying to get to. And we don't always take the moment to look backwards at where we've been, right? We don't often do that. And so it was interesting and kind of fun to teach from the perspective of if it's been 1 year since we moved into this space. And what I was saying during the portion where we were, practicing is that if anyone remembers that time last year at the end of August when we were, preparing to move from the Glen Rock location to here, um, is that I jokingly say that I was the only one like on like the entire staff that was just losing my shit every day over the move, right? Because for me, something fundamental in my life was changing, right? And that brought up a lot of stuff, which was not even at that time really easy for me to identify. It just felt like, the world was falling out from underneath me. Um, and so I taught a lot in those weeks through tears, right? I taught a lot in those weeks as a way to hold myself together. I taught a lot in those weeks. Again, it wasn't just the studio was moving at that time, it was also the summer before my baby was going to kindergarten. And like there was all sorts of things that were just changing, so it was hard. The weather was really wild in here. Um, but what I said a lot during those final weeks when we were in that last location is that everything that we go through is really an open door. That's the reality, right? In our minds, we think that we've got these obstacles and we've got this stuff that we have to overcome, but everything is an open door. And the only thing that we're really looking at in our practice is how you go through that door. It's not a question of will you, right? There was no choice, right? That building was getting torn down. There was no like, oh, I'm just going to stay, and this is life. Life continues and it pulls us forward. It pulls us into it, whether we like it or not. But we have that opportunity to decide, how am I going to go through this door? And what I said at that time is that sometimes we walk through the door like fully confident. We feel like we know where we're going and we're ready to leave things behind. But sometimes we go through that door getting pushed. And sometimes we go through it tripping. And sometimes we go through it cartwheeling. And sometimes we go through it backwards, right? But we go through the door, right? And that's the thing, is whatever is happening in life, we shift, we move with that energy, and that's going through that doorway. So we don't have to be so tight in ourselves about how it's all going to go, because guess what? You're going to make it through the door. And even if it didn't look like it was graceful, right? It didn't feel like it was graceful. It matters that we keep moving with life, right? That's our practice, to keep moving with life. And so what I've been teaching this week is on the concept of Chardi Kala, which is a phrase that comes from the Kundalini tradition that says that whatever you are doing, right, do it with a sense of optimism, right? Chardi Kala means that there's an ever rising feeling of optimism in you. And it's optimism, not positivity. It's optimism, not everything's great and I'm pretending that, nothing bothers me, but to be optimistic, right, means that you can walk into life, walk through those doors with a knowing that you're going to step into it as best you can, right? And there's a belief that as long as you keep stepping in, that things are going to keep going. And there's the opportunity for there to be upliftment. There's the opportunity for that change to be something that is magnificent and not terrible, right? But we have to reach that in ourselves so that as we go through life, we step in instead of keep trying to step back, right? We step in instead of I have to protect myself from what might feel like it's too much, right? So there's all sorts of ways that we can go through life. And the teachings do say that, however you do it, don't judge it, right? Straight from the Bhagavad Gita, whatever you do, don't judge whether the outcome means that you did it right or you did it wrong. Don't judge it. Just keep going forward with that sense of optimism, right? Oh, that last moment seemed like it was a disaster. I learned from it. The next moment, I'm going to bring my heart even bigger, right? And so that's what we practice. We keep bringing our hearts bigger to whatever comes next. So comfortable seat, let your eyes close. The phrase is Charity Kala. I don't expect you to remember it. But if you can remember the idea of there being an ever rising optimism, that no matter what, you think positively about your capabilities, you believe in your efforts mattering, and you hold steadfast to that knowledge that we are the ones that help move the energy of the world. So if you let yourself stay in that state of sad, limited, depressed, the world will connect with that, right? It'll anchor to that. Bring up your optimism, bring your heart into everything that you do. You might not be able to change whatever you want, but the world will also gravitate to that. So deep breath in. Deep breath out. Can you acknowledge that you are doing a pretty damn good job at your life, even if shit's falling apart? And can you breathe into that heart that is able to believe that the next step that you take matters? The next breath that you take matters. And it's not getting it right. It matters that you are present for it. And it matters that you're bringing everything that you are to it. And that's our whole practice, right? Realize the self that you are. So just for a moment, be optimistic about whatever it is you need to be optimistic about. And then as you exhale, let your hands come together in front of the heart center, palm to palm. And we'll open sound of Om. Take a deep breath in. Okay, did you remember to open to cosmic consciousness when you did that? No. Let's try again. Deep breath in. And let your eyes float open. Nice, you guys. In that little bit after the Om, when there's the silence, did you let yourself receive cosmic consciousness, or did you worry if your Om sound? I know, the second one. Yeah. Come forward to hands and knees. This is why we have to keep practicing, right? That if all you do is practice Oming without giving a shit if it sounded good, trust me, as a yoga teacher who has like the weirdest, I cannot regulate my voice well, my Oms always sound crazy, right? But we Om because that's our connection for ourselves, right? On hands and knees, please, cat and cow. There's a reminder that we practice for the benefit of all beings, but we start with the first being, which is you, right? The benefit of your practice is for you to realize who you are. And from there, everything else can happen. But if you're walking around confused, you can do beautiful things, and they might not hit the same way as if you were fully present for yourself, right? Cat and cow. Good. Move your breath and your spine just a little bit faster. So again, that doesn't mean to throw yourself willy-nilly into the movements, but it does mean to just see if you can get that feeling of the navel really squeezing in as you curl, and then keep it squeezed in just a little bit as you lengthen, right? So a little more engagement of that low belly. Good. Then the next time you curl and round, stay in that cat position. Good. No breath here. So if you need to take a breath in, go ahead. Exhale all the way out, curl, and then pump your navel in and out. No breath. Good. Yep, you're just moving your navel in and out. Nice. And then go ahead and inhale, lengthen your spine, look up. And then exhale, curl and round again. And at the end of that exhale, where you're curled, no breath, pump the navel in and out. Lift through the back of your throat here. Good. And then inhale, lift and lengthen again, full breath in. One more time, exhale, curl and round. And as you curl and round, again, lift up through the back of your throat. Pause there, pump your navel in and out, no breath. It's called Agni Sara. It's a way of awakening that inner fire, which also helps move out whatever is stagnant, right? Come back, inhale, lengthen the spine. And then find neutral spine, so somewhere between arched and curled, stretch your right leg up and back behind you. Good. Make sure your hands are as wide as your shoulders so you've got good support there. Nice. Inhale your breath. Exhale, bring your knee forward towards your nose, round your back again, squeeze in. And then send that leg back behind you, nice and long. Inhale. And then exhale, bring that knee forward, curl and round. Good. Inhale, lengthen it back. And one more time, exhale, squeeze it forward, curl and round. Good. And then send that leg back behind you. Pause there. Walk that left arm forward in front of you. Take a balance. Good. And then bring that left hand behind your head and just press your head up into your hand. Look straight down at the floor, but press your head straight up so you get that openness through the back of your neck. Beautiful. And now release back to hands and knees, please. Good. Press back child's pose for a moment. Let your knees go wide. Oh, good. I do have it here. Yesterday, Helen brought us some lavender water, so I was having a lot of fun going around spritzing everybody with it. So I will spritz you today if it looks like you're not practicing the way I want you to. One more deep breath. And then walk yourself up onto hands and knees. Good. Take your left leg back and up behind you. You got it. Press into those hands. Again, feel yourself as you push down. Draw that navel in and up. Keep that fire awake. And now as you exhale, bring that left knee forward towards your nose, round your back, squeeze in. Even here, every time you round and drop your head, lift through the back of your throat. And then send that leg back behind you. Inhale, lengthen, lift the back of your throat, lift the back of your heart. And then exhale, curl in and round. Good. It's crazy how much we drop our heads without any support. Stretch that leg back and then lift again through the back of your heart, up through the back of your head. One more time, bring that knee forward, squeeze in. Even as you drop your chin, press up through the back of your throat. And then extend all the way out. Keep that leg extended. Walk your right arm forward in front of you. Find the balance. So opposite arm as that lifted leg. Flex that foot. Good. So Kathy, just flex that foot. You got it. And then bring that right hand behind your head, please. You're looking straight down at the floor, but now press your head up into your hand. Push through that left hand on the floor. Elevate. Good. And then release back to hands and knees, please. Excellent, you guys. Go ahead and press back child's pose again, just for a breath or two. Take a walk to your right, please. Belly over your right thigh. And then bring yourself back to center. Walk to your left. And then coming back to center, please. Good. Walk yourself back up so you're back on hands and knees. And then what I want you to do is I want you to turn your hands so that you're, take the heels of your hands forward, fingers pointing back. Yeah, as much as you can. Turn your wrists. Yep. Good. So you're on hands and knees. Turn your wrists. Make sure your hands are still as wide as your shoulders. And then just start to let your hips move back towards your heels any amount. So this is a stretch for your wrists, stretch for your arms. So let your hips go back any amount. You're going to find the point where your body says, that's enough. Thank you. Good. Some of you, it'll be very, very soon. Good. Just pause there. Another breath. Let your hips move back any amount. Nice. And then go ahead and release, turning your palms back forward again or fingers back forward. Good. On your hands and knees, bend your elbows wide, like you're going to drop your chest to the floor. Press through the thumb and first finger of each hand, root down. And then push into your hands like you're about to push the floor away, but don't do it yet. Keep your elbows bent. Pull your ribs in. Good. Now push the floor away, straighten your arms all the way. Nice. Do that again. Bend your elbows wide, out wide, dropping the chest. See if you can notice if both shoulders are anchoring onto your back at the same rate. Go for the one that feels it's a little bit more sticky. Push into your hands, thumb and first finger. Pull your ribs in. Fire up your navel. And now push through your hands, straighten the arms. This should feel like it's some work. And then bend your elbows wide again one more time. It's like all the best parts of push-ups without having to do your whole body weight. Push through the thumb and first finger of your hands. Really push. I want you to feel your shoulders fire. And now pull your ribs in and push the floor away. Come all the way up to straight arms. Good. Now get this feeling with your elbows bending just a tiny bit. Push your inner elbows wide. And now squeeze those upper armpits towards the middle of your back. Thumb and first finger root down. Now press through those arms, straighten the elbows, tuck your toes, lift your hips. Come back to downward facing dog. Keep this action of your arms. So those inner elbows feel like they're pushing outward, but your upper armpits are squeezing in. That makes sense? You're like, no, I've been practicing for 50 years and that doesn't make sense. Good. Keep your arms awake. Nice. Good, you guys. And then come forward to plank pose. See if you can maintain that feeling of upper or inner elbows pushing wide, but armpits squeezing in. Lift through the back of your throat. Good. Deep breath in. And then exhale your hips all the way up and back, downward facing dog. I know if you did a little arch and like little curl and slide through your spine there, I want you to be aware of that. Come forward to plank pose again, armpits over your wrist. Lift the back of your throat. Don't look back towards your feet here. Good. Now, without doing that little arch in your spine, pull those ribs in, press back to downward facing dog. Pull your hips up, 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 and thighs go back. Beautiful. One more time, come forward to plank. This is the hardest work you'll do all day. Probably. Lift the back of your throat. I don't want to pretend that I know what your day holds. And then lift your hips up without arching the ribs. Come all the way back to downward facing dog. Awesome, you guys. Step your right foot forward between the hands. Nice. Walk yourself to the left. Come to the center of your mat. Turn your toes. Prasarita Padottanasana. Good. I used to say it a lot. I hope I still say it sometimes because I don't remember what I say all the time. But we practice asana to uncover our strength, right? And so if you think of yourself as this limited person that can't do this and can't do that, you walk into an asana class. I ask you guys to do ridiculous things sometimes, and you do it, right? Life asks you to do ridiculous things, and you do it. But then you'll turn around and judge it and say, well, I didn't do it very well, right? Or I didn't do it the way that I think it should have gone. Can we take a moment and appreciate the fact that we go through life and we do it, right? That's the only measure. Take one more deep breath here. And then bring your hands to your hips. Come all the way up to stand. Good. Turn your toes out, both feet 45 degrees. Bend your knees, come into a high squat. Good. If your knees cannot get to your ankles, move your feet closer. But if that is not the case, then keep your feet where they are. Good. Let your thighs drop low. Stretch your arms out wide, letter T. And then take your right arm over top of your left. Wrap the arms for eagle. Good. So squeeze those forearms. And if that eagle position doesn't work, just wrap the arms all the way around like you're reaching your hands in a big hug. Reach for the opposite shoulder. Good. One more breath. Victoria, draw your throat back. Throat back. Yep. Good. Come all the way back up to stand. Stretch your arms all the way up to the sky. Straight legs. And then slide that right hand down your right thigh. Take your left arm over. Take a side stretch. And keep your feet turned out. You're fine. Good. Nice, you guys. And then come back up to center, please. Arms wide or up above. Slide that left hand down your left leg. Take your right arm over. Side stretch. Good. Keep connection in both feet. Nice. Come back up to center, please. Arms out, letter T. Bend your knees again. Come back into that high squat. Good. You're pressing into the big toe mounds of your feet. Find your heels as well. Lift that low belly. Again, keep that fire center awake. Drop your tail. And then left arm comes over top of right, or whatever the opposite cross of the arms is for you. Press the forearms against each other. Don't do weird grippy things with your hands. Press the forearms against each other. Press the palms against each other, but don't grip. Lift your heart a little higher. I know I said heart, not elbows, but good job. Good. And then slowly release. Stretch your arms out wide. Turn your toes so they are parallel. Feet are parallel. So turn your toes forward. And then reach behind you to either interlace your fingers or hold opposite wrists or elbows. Deep breath in. Exhale. Bow forward again. If you have those hands interlaced, feel free to take your arms up and over. Good. And then even here where you are, I want you to bend your elbows a little bit if you have those hands interlaced. Yep, bend your elbows wide. I know now all of you that have locked elbows have to come out of it. Exactly. Good. Roll your arm bones up and back so your chest is going to get more open. And now take the top of your head to the floor and stretch your arms up without locking your elbows. Good. Release the hands down. Good job, you guys. Walk back to the top of your mat. Turn your right toes forward. Spin up your back heel. Good. And then plant that left hand. Take your right arm up to the sky. Spinal twist. Good. Push that left hip a little wider. Lean onto that left hand. Rotate that right rib cage open just a little more and bring that hand forward so that you open from the top of your chest. Good. Release that hand down. Lower the back knee. Good. Take both hands inside that front foot. Walk your hands towards the upper left-hand corner of your mat. Come on up on your fingertips. Let your hands go wide. So give yourself plenty of space. And then inhale your breath. Your exhale, bend your elbows wide. Start to drop your chest towards the floor. Don't let your head hang. And then lift back up to straight arms. Inhale. Do that a couple more times at your own breathing. Bending the elbows wide. Dropping your chest. Don't drop your head lower than your shoulders. And then press the arms back up straight. Good. You're trying to find awareness of how much we disregard our own self. Right? Like, where does that limiting belief come from? We can have all sorts of things, right? The joke at the beginning of class, we can blame whatever we want on whatever we want. Why do I feel this way about myself? Well, it's somebody's fault. Probably your parents. Probably your first boyfriend or girlfriend. Probably someone you met on the street. But who is the solution to that? There's only one answer, and that's you. Right? Next time you come back to straight arms, just pause there, lifting to the back of your throat. And then walk the hands all the way back in. Tuck your back toes, lift your back knees, step back to downward facing dog. Good. Come through a vinyasa if you'd like, or take a child's pose. If you're doing the vinyasa, come forward to plank, lower all the way down to your belly, rise up, find a cobra pose, or whatever your back bend is today. And then exhale, find yourself back to downward facing dog. Step your left foot forward between the hands. Walk to your right so you come to the center of your mat. Bring your toes, cross over your up. Good. Reach that right hand for your outer left ankle or shin, please. The left arm can come to the sky, or that arm can walk forward in front of you or come to your lower back. Lots of options. Good. Draw your head back towards that upper right-hand corner of your mat. So move everything in the opposite direction of where your arm is reaching. Good. And then release back to center, please. Nice. Go the other direction. Left hand reaches for outer right ankle or shin. Right arm can come to the sky. It can come to your lower back. It can walk forward in front of you. But widen that left inner thigh. And now take the back of your heart and the back of your head towards the upper left-hand corner of your mat. Move it away from your thigh. And use that arm to twist your left armpit towards your thigh. Good. And then release back to center. Excellent. Walk your hands up onto your hip. Come up to stand. Good. Turn your toes out 45 degrees, go to feet. Bend your knees, come into that high squat again. Got it pose. Take your arms up to chest, arms, elbows wide. Good. So your ribs are drawing in here. You're rooting down into your feet, sending those inner knees wide. And now really active hands. So not just jazz hands, but really active hands. Good. And then you're going to squeeze your elbows forward towards the front of your chest. Like you're going to bring everything forward like that. I don't know, we call this a chest press or something. Squeeze everything in so your palms almost come together. And then push wide like you're moving weight. Good. And then bring it forward again. Squeeze, round or curl is that back widen into your back. And then press wide. Again, you should feel like you're pushing through weight, your active arms. Couple more. Squeeze forward. You have so much to concentrate on. You forgot about your legs. Press wide. So there we have it. 2 more. Squeeze forward. Keep your navel drawn in. And press wide. Again, breath outward through that chest. 1 more time. Squeeze forward. Feel your upper back. And then push wide, like the air itself is heavy. Beautiful. Stretch those arms out wide, letter T. Straighten your legs. Turn your toes forward to parallel. And then reach behind you to either interlace your fingers again or hold opposite elbows. Bow forward. If you have those hands interlaced, stretch those arms up and over if you choose. But I will challenge you that if you are someone that hyperextends your elbows, that every time you do this, remind yourself, bend your elbows. Get softer there because we do all sorts of weird contortions. So soften your elbows and then lift from the top of your arm bones and try to take those arms up with that little bend in your elbows. Don't lock. Good. Let the crown of your head reach longer. Nice. And then release the hands down to the floor. Great job. Walk yourself to the front of your mat. Turn your left toes forward. Spin up your right heel. Good. And then plant that right hand. Left arm comes to the sky. Final twist. So you're dropping into that right hand so that you can let your chest open a little wider. So your hand, the left hand moves forward, but then move the back of your head back. Lean onto that hand and move everything from your waist up to that outer right edge of your mat behind you. That's it. Good. Release that hand down. Lower that back knee down to the floor. Walk both hands towards that upper right-hand corner of your mat. Come up on your fingertips. Separate your hands nice and wide. And then you inhale here nice and open. Exhale, bend your elbows wide like you're going to drop your chest to the floor. But some of you guys got to give yourself much wider arms, like wide spider arms. Yeah, so that your chest. Yeah, no, go towards that upper right-hand corner. Go wider. Go wider. Like off your mat wider. There you go. So when you bend your elbows here, you guys, your chest can really descend completely between your hands. You don't have room for that. You got to move your hands wider. And then you press the arms back up to straight. So again, the idea here is we're just trying to get into that openness of your upper back around your shoulder blades. When you lower down, don't drop your head lower than your shoulders. That's the trick, right? Is for you to realize how often you drop your head. And the weight of that yanks on everything in your upper back. And there's all sorts of metaphors we can make there about how the weight of our mind is what creates our feelings of suffering. It yanks on everything inside of us. So can you lift just a little bit? That's that sense of, can I be optimistic, even in the face of my suffering, my challenges, the shit that I can't change that I want to, problems I don't know how to solve? Can I not measure myself by that? Come all the way back up to straight arms. Good. Walk those hands back in. Nice. Lift your back knee. Step back, downward facing dog. And then come forward to plank pose, please. Upward push up. Either stay here or lower the knees to the floor in a modified plank. So shoulders go over the wrist. Breath of fire. Begin to pump your navel in and out, breathing in and out through the nose. Don't drop your head. Keep going with your breath, but don't drop your head. I know. You can always put the knees down. Good. You're not going to die, I promise. Not from this. Good. Inhale your breath. And then lower all the way down to your belly, please. Make sure you exhale your breath. Keep holding it. Good. Turn your cheek to the side or make a pillow with your hands. Take a moment. In Vata season is when everything is in flux, transition. It's the season of shedding. It's the season of things falling apart. It's the season of things ending. It's different, right? When we get to spring, we say that, yeah, everything is in flux again, but it feels easier, doesn't it? Usually. It feels easier to kind of come into things than it does to go through the ending of things. Turn your cheek to the other side. If you have one cheek turned, if your forehead is straight down, you can stay. But breathe really deep into your belly, into your lower spine. And Vata season is also when the stuff in our mind, right, the weather up there gets even more intensely, I don't know, crazy. It does, right? It really does. The Vata energy is the energy of the mind. It's the energy of air and space. So it means that we have to pay extra attention to what goes on in our mind, right? What we fill it and what we let hang out there. And so I was saying, maybe it was yesterday, I don't know, time is a weird thing. I was saying sometime recently that we don't have to know what to replace things with. We don't have to worry about what thought should stay and what thought should go. But that we have plenty of practices that just say, just move that energy, just move your prana, and it will naturally go where it needs to go. You don't have to decide. And that's great for Vata season. Do breath of fire so that you clear whatever is stagnant and see where your mind settles. And then don't do it aggressively because you think that if you keep doing it, it's going to have a better effect, right? Do it moderately. Point your forehead down towards the floor, please. Bend your knees, keep your heels in. Reach back for your feet if you can. If reaching your feet today is not an option, plant your hands alongside your ribs like you would for Cobra. So you're going to squeeze those heels down towards your butt and keep your thighs on the floor. So you're not lifting the feet up, right? You're trying to draw your heels in. And then you're going to bend your elbows to lift up just your head, neck, and chest. Keep your knees on the floor. Lift up head, neck, and chest. And if you're doing that Cobra variation, just keep your knees bent, press into your hands, lift up head, neck, and chest. But if you're holding your feet, bend your elbows a lot up towards the sky. The point of this is for you to bend your elbows, not to get your chest up. Bend your elbows. I know, you got to use your back, not your arms. Good. Bend those elbows more. You're all going to get spritzed. Good. And then slowly release. Nice job, you guys. Let the feet go. Good. Stretch the arms forward in front of you. I know we're not doing anything that we want to do right now. Point your toes. Give a little hug of those inner thighs. And then you're going to lift just your right leg up off the floor for a moment. Just your right leg. You can come up on your finger. Let's do it this way. Press into your fingertips and lift your chest slightly forward, but your hands are still on the floor. But then lift just your right leg. So keep your chest up, lift just your right leg. Good. Now see if you can pull your toes more towards the back of your mat. So it's not how high your leg goes, it's how long your leg can go. And now lift your right low belly up. So it's like you're trying to pull that right hip bone up to your ribs. Good. Even though your leg is lifted, so it's going to be a little fight with yourself. Good. Release that foot down. Try the other side. Take your left leg up, just your left leg. So you got to get that inner thigh to work. Press through the ball of that foot so you're taking your toes back behind you like someone's tugging on your ankle. Good. And then at the same time, try and lift your low belly forward and up. You're trying to actually plug that thigh all the way up into your ribs. Good. Nice. Now release that foot down. Stay up on your fingertips. Chest is lifted just as it is. Now lift both legs up. Sorry, we're going to do it this way. Lift just your right leg up again. Yep. Now keep that and float your left leg up as well. What I'm trying to do is get you to not just clench your butt to lift your leg. So I want you to feel here more of that. I'm lifting my thighs forward. I'm lifting my hip bones forward. And now for fun, lift your arms all the way up off the floor. Pull your ribs in and up. Don't clench your butt harder. Keep those hip bones pulling forward. And lengthen your inner thighs. One more breath. And then exhale, release. Good. I know, that was a lot. Stretch your right arm out wide to the right, please, straight out from your shoulder, palm facing down. Roll onto that right hip, please. So you're rolling towards that extended arm. And then that left foot can come back behind you if you'd like. You can bend the knee, or you can keep that leg just stacked. Good. Left hand can come in front of you for balance, or you can take it up and back into a bind. Notice what your head is doing here. And again, we want to try and keep those hips level with each other so that what's opening here is really all through the upper spine, right? We're trying to get our left rib cage directly on top of our right rib cage. So if your hips are able to sway all the way open, that's great. It's not helping, right? So keep your hips on top of each other and try to open more through that upper left rib cage. That's what needs to move back. Nice, everybody. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and release, bringing yourself back to your belly. Good. You're going to move to the second side. Stretch your left arm out wide to the left, palm facing down. Make sure that arm is straight out from your shoulder so it's not super far down towards your hip. You want it to be really straight out from your armpit. And then roll onto that left side. Good. Choose what you're going to do with that top leg. Again, that foot can come back behind you with the knee bent, or you can just keep the legs stacked. Just remember that letting your hips fall all the way open is not going to give you greater openness in your shoulder or your upper back, right? So try to keep that top hip slightly forward so that you really open through your upper chest. And think here about how your throat is trying to actually move backwards in space, so towards that left thumb that's back behind you. Think of your heart and your throat moving in that direction. Good. I don't know who was in class the one day that I said that I realized that I've been getting this like persistent like muscle like aching up in my upper shoulders and neck. And I realized that when I'm sleeping, I was sleeping in this like odd head forward like hunched position. I'm like, oh, surprise, right? Stressing out even in my sleep. So we have to remember, right? Press your head back. You have to notice what we're doing that's creating or perpetuating that feeling of our limitations. And once we realize that, well, then there's something we can do, right? That first thing that you have to admit you have a problem before you can get help. Good. Slowly release yourself back onto your belly. While we can blame everything on whatever we want, yogic practices try not to blame anyone for anything. Can you just find how you can take what's there in front of you, recognize where it came from, and what can you do that brings it back to a peaceful place best you can? What can you bring to yourself? Bend your knees again, kick your heels in, reach for your feet if you can. And again, if reaching your feet is not an option, bring your hands back alongside your ribs. So your knees are straight back behind you. Same thing you did before. Heels go down towards your butt and they stay there. Good. Bend your elbows and begin to go into those muscles of your back to lift up head, neck, and chest. Bend your elbows. Your elbows should be bent a lot. Good. So your chest might not lift that much, but your elbows bend. And if you're doing that cobra variation, go ahead and press into your hands, lift the back of your heart up, 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 and slide the front of those thighs forward. Good. I know this is not bow pose, so don't get too excited. It's frog. And then slowly release. Nice, you guys. Plant your hands, take a moment, and then press up to hands and knees. Come back to child's pose. The last time you took an exhale and really let everything go? Maybe never. Can you try for just one exhale to really let everything go? There you go. Good, and then slowly walk yourself back up onto hands and knees. Press back to downward facing dog. Step your right foot forward between the hands. Drop your back heel, come into warrior two. Good, straighten your front thigh. And then reach for triangle pose. Come through that right side body, extend as far as you can. And let that right hand touch down to the floor, left arm comes to the sky. Good. Even here, can you drop through your tail, lift your low belly in and up. And now stretch that left arm over your ear. Good. And then stretch it back up towards the sky. And then just once, can you take that arm around the front of your belly, reach it underneath your right armpit. So reach under, like you're going to reach for the person on the mat behind you, curl in. And then extend that arm all the way back up. And notice that you can hug your shoulder blades towards the back of your heart. And then extend through your fingertips and widen the back even more. So you squeeze in and then you expand wide. Good. Bend into that right knee, release the hands down to the floor. Spin up your back heel. Good. Lower that back knee down to the floor. Right arm comes to the sky, final twist. Opportunity, if you want, to kick that back heel in and reach back for the quad stretch. Good. So if you want to bend your back knee and then reach for the foot or the ankle, enjoy that. If you don't want to, don't do it and enjoy that. Draw your throat back wherever you are, heart open. Good. Really nice. And then release that foot down to the floor, release the hand, lift the back knee, step back, downward facing dog. Vinyasa if you'd like, or again, hang out in dog or child's pose. If you're doing the vinyasa, you're coming forward to plank, lowering down to your belly, nice tidy, rising up into cobra, Marla, and then downward facing dog, trying to keep that feeling of belly lifting from your navel, so that your down dog isn't this, or that transition isn't this weird kind of spine wiggle. But no more spine wiggle. Left foot steps forward between the hands. Drop your back heel, warrior two, take the arms up. Good. So there's a moment here, right? Straighten that left leg for triangle pose, where with your arms extended, squeeze your shoulder blades to the back of your heart. Squeeze so much, right? Overdo it so that your hands actually like go back. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Good. And now lift your armpits just a little higher. Lift your hands a little higher than your armpits. Good. And now try and push down through those hands. So the tops of the shoulders and the shoulder blades root down. And now pull from fingertip to fingertip. So those shoulder blades are still trying to squeeze in, but now your hands are actually pulling them towards the outer edges of your ribs. Feel that. You're trying to squeeze in, but also push out. Now come into triangle with your arms like that. Bring that left hand down to the floor or the front leg or block, right arm to the sky. Especially if there's neck stuff here, don't look up at the hand. Look straight forward and really focus on dropping the chin and drawing the back of the head. Good. Really get the feeling here that you are bringing that top hand towards your chest just a little bit. Good. Nice back. And now take that top arm over your ear. Nice, Emily. Got it. Good, Lisa. Got it, Kathy. And then stretch that right arm back up, get longer. And now reach that right arm around in front of you, reach it underneath that left armpit. You can even turn and look, right? You're curling into your rib cage, getting that stretch through that outer hip and flank. And then uncurl, stretch that right arm back up to the sky, and then reset that feeling of trying to hug behind your heart, but then extend through the tips of your fingers so much that your shoulder blades actually widen on your back. and draw your head back in space. That's it. I know you keep forgetting. Bend that left knee, release both hands down to the floor. You could spend an eternity in triangle and still not get it right, so don't worry. Downward facing dog. Oh, sorry, spin up your back heel. Forgot the quad stretch. Lower that right knee down to the floor. Right hand plants, left arm to the sky, take your twist. And if you choose, bend that back knee, keep your heel in, and reach for the quad stretch. Good. Nice, you guys. Lift the back of your heart and the back of your head. And then release that foot, release the hand. Beautiful. Lift that back knee, step back, downward facing dog. You got it. And then lower down to your knees, please. And then lower down to your elbows. Nice. If you can have the palms flat to the floor here, do that. If that doesn't quite work, if the shoulders are just not happy with that, then interlace your fingers, make a little cup with your hands. So you're making more of a little triangle with your arms. But press down into the arms, tuck your toes, lift your hips, come into down dog on your forearms. Good. Push through your forearms all the way into your hands. So if you've got no connection of your wrist to the floor here, try to find that. Press through the whole length of your forearms. And then draw your ribs in. Walk your feet forward any amount to take your hips higher. Let your head be in a neutral line with your spine. So don't try to look towards your hands. There's nothing exciting happening there. Good. But feel the back of your heart pull forward a little more. Nice. For fun, if you want, lift one leg. Good. And then release it down. For fun, if you want, lift the other leg. Nice. For extra fun, if you want to lift both legs, go for that forearm balance. Go for it. I'm not doing it. One of us did it. We all did it. Beautiful. And then bring it back down. Child's pose. When we get to that inversion workshop, we can work on forearms. But if you're here,
You would have to go there.
Nope.
From here, so it'd be like an arc.
Well, ideally, you're going to be in a perfect straight line one day. The name for that pose, just in case anyone is interested, forearm balance, is actually named Pinchamayurasana, which is peacock feather. So you're meant to be ideally straight up and down like a peacock feather, straight up. Do most of us look like that in forearm balance? No. Don't worry about it. You can get your legs up in the air balancing on your forearms. That means that your shoulder extension is so magnificent already. Then what is there to complain about, right? And this is our practice, is to put our mind there, that there's so much magnificence in what you do already. Then why would you complain about what isn't happening yet? Right? Walk yourself all the way back up. Good. Come to sit on your butt. Take your legs out in front of you. When you're done standing up. Hooray. And say that because that's what mine says at that part of the class. Right leg stays extended. Draw your left knee in towards your chest. Step that foot over your right thigh. And then wrap that right arm around your knee. Take your left hand back behind you. Final twist. Nice. Is your head in line with your spine? Yeah, now it is. Good. Keep your legs as they are. Unwind yourself. Take both hands to the opposite hip, so to the outside of your right hip, so the counter twist, both hands. And press into your hands. Keep your chest really lifted. And again, draw your throat back. Draw the back of your heart wider. Nice. And then come back to center, please. Step that left foot to the inside of your right thigh. Let your knee go all the way wide for Janu Shirshasana. Good. And start that with a spinal twist. So instead of the arms up today, take your left hand to the outside of that right thigh, right hand back behind you. So find the twist first. Good. Lift your spine longer, because also in seated twist, what do? We dump into our lower back. Lift up taller. Now that you're already twisted, walk that left hand towards your outer right ankle. Stay twisted. And keep walking forward, forward, forward. Stay deeply twisted. Good. And then once you're there, if you feel like you want to bring that right arm forward alongside the left, you're welcome to do that. Do your best to maintain this level of twist. Good. Nice, you guys. Good, and then walk yourself all the way back up. Excellent. Go ahead and switch your leg, put your left leg forward in front of you, bend your right hand towards your chest. Step that foot over your left thigh. Wrap the left arm around your knee, right hand comes back behind you, spinal twist. Lift your heart forward and up. Head in line with your spine. Good. Slowly release. Keep your legs as they are. Just bring your hands to the opposite side. So both hands to your outer left hip. Keep that knee up. And then instead of leaning forward, push into your hands, lift your chest up. Stay really wide. So you want to turn that right rib cage towards the left, but you also want to keep your right butt cheek rooting down to the floor. Head in line with your spine. Draw your throat back. That's it. Yeah. I know, you thought you were already doing it, and then someone said, hey, lift it a little more, and you realized you could. So when someone gives you that little bit of a suggestion or a criticism, don't get mad. Just say, oh, was I not as tall as I could have been? Was I not as magnificent as I know that I am? Thank you for reminding me. Come back to center, please. Step that right foot to the inside of that leg. Again, let your knee drop all the way wide. And then take that right hand to your outer left thigh, left hand back behind you. So you're coming into that twist first. Make sure that left foot is really active. Curl your toes back. Good. And you don't let your toes fall open to the left. Keep them straight up and down. And now from that twist, slide that right hand towards that outer ankle. So come forward, forward, forward as far as you can. Keep twisting, keep twisting, keep twisting. Good. And then once you're there, you can choose to bring that left arm forward as well, but try to maintain this level of twist. And it might be hard to do with both arms forward. So if you bring them forward and you're relaxing some of that twist of your spine, just realize that that's what you're doing. Keep your left butt cheek on the floor. Nice. And then unwind yourself all the way back to center, please. Good. Stretch your legs straight out in front of you. Flex the feet. And then inhale the arms up to the sky. Bow forward. Paschimottanasana. Good. If you can reach your feet, or you are reaching your feet, reach for the outer edges, the baby toe edges, and pull them back. So you're pushing your big toe bounce forward, baby toes go wider. So you activate that line of stretch through the outer edge of your shins and your thighs. Nice side. And then slowly release. Excellent. Go ahead and find your way onto your back. If you're in the room with me, turn your head to face the front of the room. You can bring a block with you if you have one. So as you come down to your back, bend your knees, and then lift your hips up and place that block underneath your sacrum. If there's anyone in the room who does not want lavender water spritz, just raise a hand. We're good? So if you got a little mist on your face, it's lavender water. I haven't. I missed anybody, wave a hand at me. You're at home, you'll have to find your own lab and don't worry about it. If you read the text of yoga, it's very funny that my daughter, I don't push yoga at her because I want her to maybe one day really like it. And I feel like if I push it too hard, she's gonna say, my mom's thing. But she gravitates to a lot of the mythology and things. So now recently she suddenly discovered that Hanuman is really cool. Yeah. So she was asking me because we were listening to a song about Hanuman on playlist in the car. And she was asking me about who Hanuman is. So I was telling her a very basic version of the Ramayana. And she's like, can we find a movie of this? I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's not going to be in English. I did find one. There's an adaptation on Netflix. Um, but she gets very excited about the, you know, idea of who Hanuman is. And you could see just in her face, she didn't want to watch the whole thing because some parts are boring for a 6-year-old. But she really enjoyed some of the fights, right? Which is good guys beating up bad guys. Because it's like that. But the idea that we have these powers inside of us, right? That scene where Hanuman has to be reminded that he's able to do incredible things. And that's how he's able to leap across the ocean. It's how he's able to do what he does in the story, which is, rescue. Basically, he saves the heroes who save the world, right? But even in his own voice, when they're sitting on that edge of the ocean and it's suggested that he's the only one who can make it across, and he's like, how? He's like, I'm just a monkey. Like, what do you want me to do? And he has to be reminded, not just a monkey, right? The son of the wind god, get your act together. It's like, oh, that covering on his mind goes away because, again, he forgot because he was told to forget. That covering goes away, and suddenly he's able to do these incredible things. We think, oh, well, that's not me. I'm not the son of the wind god or, this mythological creature. Bullshit. There's a covering over your mind, too, where you don't see the magnificence of what you're able to do, of what you're able to be. So, yeah, maybe you can't fly across the ocean with magic powers, but the way that you live your life is magnificent because it's coming from you. While you're in this supported bridge pose or not supported bridge pose, if you're not using a block, draw your right knee in towards your chest. Good, squeeze it in, you can use your hands. Try to keep your tailbone moving towards the floor here, so it's a subtle arching of your lower back. And then hold behind that thigh, extend that heel all the way up. Stretch. And again, if you're not on the block, just do this on the floor. Keep your tailbone moving towards the floor. And then release that foot down. And draw your left knee in towards your chest and hug. Good. And then hold behind the thigh, extend the heel up. Tailbone moves towards the floor. So again, there's a subtle arch in your back. You're trying to lengthen that whole lower spine. And these stories, the yogic stories, is that it's never about the things that a creature does or a being does that is their greatness. It's what they have to work through inside of themselves that makes them great. Hanuman has to work through his doubt, his feelings of limitations. Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita has a complete mental breakdown over who he's supposed to be. So the whole story of the Bhagavad Gita says very little about the actual battle. It's just about his breakdown. Release that foot down to the floor. Press into both feet, lift your hips up off of the block and let your hips find the floor. Pause there. And then drawing both knees in towards your chest, extend your legs straight up towards the sky and then just wrap your arms around the back of your legs. Your legs are just straight up. Wrap your arms around the back of your legs. Let your legs fold in towards you any amount. Keep your shoulders relaxed. So it's just like you're doing that Paschimottanasana, but on your back. Good. So squeeze those legs in any amount. Debbie, good. And then bend your knees wide into half baby. Reach for your feet. Every character, what makes them great is that they have to work through those places in their mind confused, that are cloudy, that have been covered over. Those are the heroes because these are the stories about us, about being human, about being in the world. That's our job. That's what practice is about. How can I uncover who I really am? Get through that heavy weather in my mind. Bring the knees all the way back together. Hug. Scoot your hips over to the left. Drop your knees to the right. Final twist. If you want to wrap your legs all the way here, just wrap that left thigh all the way on top of the right. Slowly release back to center. Take your twist the other way. Scoot your hips to the right. Drop your knees to the left. And again, if you want that full wrap of the legs, take the right leg all the way around the left. And then slowly release, coming back to center. Give your knees a squeeze. Tuck them in. And then release the legs down to the floor, arms alongside you, palms turn up. Yourself find your shavasana. It'd be very nice if you do have that upper back stuff, if you have a blanket, to fold it in kind of thirds or quarters and place that underneath that middle rib cage. It's not under your head, it's under your middle rib cage. And let your arms go just a little wider out to the side. So it's going to help stretch out that space of your middle back, which is going to free up space in your upper back and shoulders. Good. And if it creates a little bit of an extreme arc, you can place something. You let the body slow, the breath slow. Just consider that that inner hero exists in you, and that we can define it as that sense of optimism, right? The hero who walks in and says, I will not give up, even though things look disastrous. I will be everything that I can be, regardless of whether it's easy or it's hard. And if that's too much, just breathe. Very gently bring the awareness back to your breath. Let your body begin to stretch and move, whatever ways serve it well. When you're ready, draw your knees in towards your chest, roll to your right side. And take a moment there before you begin to push the floor away. Come back to an upright seated position. Drawing the hands together in front of the heart center, palm to palm. In our minds, we think that we have one path through the world. Maybe that's part of what it means to be in an individual body, is that we think there's one path and it just happens to be whatever's right in front of us, but we think there's one road. We forget that there's any direction at all that you could go. We forget that there's anything at all that you could become, that you could do, because you have so much inside of you that is possible. So if we let go of the feeling that there's one path that we have to perfect, and instead we realize that any path that we're on, if we bring our whole self to it, will result in perfection. It will result in magnificence. It will result in exactly what the world needs it to be. You don't have to decide. You don't have to know what your path is. You don't have to know what the right answer is. Your whole job is to just show up as your full self. That's the yogi's job. Know myself so completely that whatever I do it with that sense of optimism that what my thoughts are doing, what my actions are doing matters. And it's not about the results, it's about what I'm bringing forward through those open doorways, because that's the whole world is open doors. And if one direction feels like it's too hard to go, well, then you go where the door is even more open, where you don't have to fight for it. But inside, let go of that idea that somehow you are limited because of what didn't work, or because of what doesn't seem that you can do it perfectly today. Can you find that sense that you are that inner hero that's always rising to the surface? Charity Kala, ever rising optimism. Connect with that, and whatever happens will be perfection. Deep breath in for the sound of Om. Thank you guys so much. Have a beautiful rest of your day, rest of your week until I see you again. We got Satsang this Friday, kicking off some Navaratri energy if you want to come for that with Neil. And then there's more stuff coming up. Gong Bath with me and Dave next Saturday night. So if you're interested in that, please sign up. We know how many people are coming. And then later today, if you've got nothing to do between 12 to 6, is come back and we'll really dive deep into the alignment principles of asana. So you can still show up for that. The mastery level training begins today if you want to be part of it. So all of that and more coming. Meditation at 11 today if you want to come back. Mwah.
Thank you so much, Veronica.
Welcome.
Thanks, Veronica.
Great day.